Before the uni entrance test, I secretly snagged the love note that the campus hottie, Leo, had penned to his first love, which ultimately kept them apart. She's held a grudge against me forever because of it. When she discovered I had a thing for her, she even accused me of being jealous and manipulative, making it impossible for her to ever like me back. Eventually, we both met our end in a car crash. Before she died, she confessed that if given another shot, she wished I hadn't ruined her relationship with Alex. She expressed that if she could go back, she hoped I wouldn't have messed with her bond with Alex, wishing instead that I had another chance and hadn't taken the letter. She sacrificed answering multiple-choice questions on the biology exam to enroll in the same college as Alex. When the results were released, Mia and Alex ended up together. At the graduation bash, Mia's romantic move of skipping those questions for love became legendary. Folks dubbed her a pure love warrior. I just sat quietly in a corner sipping my juice while they were surrounded by everyone. Next to me, Jake was confused and shaking his head. Is she out of her mind? She ditched her future for a possibly shaky relationship with Alex? Yep, this time she chose Alex over her prospects. Last time, I interfered to secure her future by covertly taking the letter, and all I got was her lifelong hatred. Even after she realized I had feelings for her, she looked at me with pure disdain. Ben, I'm not down with jealous, manipulative types. Your clinginess grosses me out. She told me. I hadn't exactly kept the letter hidden from her. I handed it back the night after the exams. But when she approached Alex with the letter, he turned her down. Mia, with our scores so different, we won't even make it to the same college. How could we stay together? Long distance for years. I need a girlfriend I can be with any time. Can you do that? A broken Mia glared at me when she came back. The next day, her folks came to me, worried since she was thinking about switching her college choice. They begged me to talk to her. I wasn't shocked. But when I found Mia, she laughed bitterly before I could say anything. What's up, Ben? One stolen letter wasn't enough? Planning to mess things up again? Standing in the stairwell with a cool breeze blowing by, it felt chilly despite the sunny day. I looked at her restless and agitated and said, Mia, it's been 12 years to get to today. Eventually, under her parents' pressure, Mia stuck to her plans and couldn't get back with Alex. Since then, I became the bad guy who kept them apart and bore all her resentment. Until our final moments in the car, she blamed me, begging with a hoarse voice in the bloody wreck. If I get another chance, Ben, please stop messing with our destiny. So, when I got a second shot, I did as she wished. I didn't take the letter, and Mia saw it. Realizing Alex liked her too, but was worried about the distance. She took a gamble, skipped the biology questions, losing over 100 points, but managed to get close enough scores to be with Alex. When people had a few drinks, someone brought me up, almost casually. At first, I thought Ben and Mia would end up together, childhood pals, both top students. But Mia quickly shut that down, probably worried Alex might get the wrong idea. We're just old friends, she said, distant. I smiled silently, echoing the words, old friends. Mia was right. We've known each other forever. From elementary to graduation, we were always in the same class. Besides my folks, Mia spent the most time with me. I saw her pull all-nighters over math problems. She saw me take exams with a high fever, and no one understood better how much effort went into those seemingly easy top 3 scores. The day we entered high school, ranking first and second in the city, Mia pointed to our pics on the honor roll and asked 3 years later, "This will be us, Ben. You feeling confident?" The summer evening sky blazed bright behind her. Cicadas buzzed loudly, and I held my books tight, looking at her. Mia, it's a promise. Back then, all we saw in each other's eyes was our hopeful future and firm determination. But soon enough, Alex entered Mia's life. During a time when most students were scattered and burnt out chasing their dreams, Alex stood out, unbelievably handsome. At the school festival not long after we enrolled, Alex stood center stage in a white suit, like a spotlight. Everyone noticed him. His name was on every student's lips. For many girls, including Mia, he became their first crush. The first time I felt something was off was when she came back from delivering papers to the next class. She was blushing and sat down, but for 4 periods, she only solved one problem on her test. The scratch paper filled with equations had 3 glaring letters: Alex. She scribbled over them, trying to hide what was obvious. Later, I heard Alex had teased her when she handed in those papers. They accidentally bumped heads, and he caught her. Flustered, she said, "Watch it, genius." Alex grinned. "Sorry, big brain, and you're really pretty." Everyone around laughed. Usually composed and stoic, Mia couldn't keep her cool. Our personalities, Mia's and mine, are quite similar, rational and calm, like warm water. Alex was the opposite, intense and passionate, like a fizzing tablet dropped in that water. And a good-looking one, too. So it didn't surprise me that Mia was drawn to him. Just like in many rom-coms and novels, the main male and female characters often have contrasting personalities. The idea is that people get attracted to those who are different from them. There are just so many examples. The CEO and the Cinderella, the nerd and the underachiever, or the aloof beauty and the warm-hearted sunshine. Back then, I thought Mia would stay grounded no matter how much she was drawn to Alex. But she, usually rational and composed, rebelled for him once. Truth is, I have no clue how they got so close. I was too caught up in my hectic schoolwork, and our chats mostly revolved around solving problems or prepping for the next exam. By the time I noticed how close Mia and Alex had become, Alex was already casually calling her a bookworm, a top student, and her reactions showed she was used to it. I began to notice Mia leaving for half an hour every lunchtime to tutor Alex and having plans on weekend mornings, which were actually meetups organized by Alex. I realized Mia had fallen for him, but that didn't distract me from my studies. Not until the national physics competition in sophomore year started approaching. Our school was selecting one student to send, and during the last elimination round, Mia wasn't there. Alex had fallen ill and fainted. Despite everything, Mia chose to stay with him at the hospital all afternoon. I can't exactly describe how I felt back then. I just remember arriving at the hospital, seeing her, and all my emotions collapsed into a confused Mia. She leaned against the hallway wall with a nonchalant look and simply said, "I've followed the rules all my life. Can't I rebel just once?" So she gave up all that effort, forgetting the nights she spent solving problems while sick. For a moment, looking at the graceful girl in front of me, she seemed almost like a stranger, and I felt an unexpected urge to cry. But I didn't say anything. Still, I knew her actions were a bad sign. So when she faced another life decision, I made it for her. I took Alex's love letter meant for her before the final exams. By then, I had mentally prepared for Mia to confess to Alex after graduation and for them to be together, and I was ready to offer my congratulations. But I didn't expect to run into Alex placing the letter while I returned to the classroom for a notebook during a top 100 students meeting. The conversation he was having with his friend felt like a gut punch. The whole reason he got close to Mia was a bet to hit on the top student in the grade. He ended up genuinely liking her, but felt the gap between them was too wide and didn't want to deal with the long distance. So he kept insisting they were just classmates. That letter was his way to show he wanted to go to the same college as her and be with her. There was a time when I'd confidently say Mia wouldn't risk her future for anyone. But in that moment, I wasn't so sure. To avoid that 1% chance, I took the letter after they left. In countless sarcastic remarks from Mia since then, I constantly wonder if I'd done the right thing. Once, I tried talking to her calmly. "Mia, even if you saw it earlier, wouldn't you still chase your future instead of being with him?" She laughed coldly and interrupted with firm certainty. "Ben, I would." Watching her, I silently realized I had indeed messed up. Royally. As our reunion was winding down, Alex held Mia's hand and came over with a bright smile. "Ben, you've known Mia for 18 years. Your relationship is different, even if it's just as friends. You'll wish us well, right?" I glanced at the smiling girl beside him and politely corrected him, saying, "I haven't been with Mia for 18 years. We just happened to walk the same path for that long. From now on, it'll be different. Many have already wished you happiness today." My good wishes are for your brilliant future. I was sincere. After all, we come from humble backgrounds, working hard for a promising future. In a previous life, Mia went to a top university, became the star student of a respected physics professor, met influential mentors, and made numerous like-minded friends. With the best resources, she thrived in her passion for physics, frequently seeing her name in academic journals and confidently speaking at research conferences. A bright future indeed. Her only regret was probably the first love, Alex. It was an obsession of hers. At occasional reunions, people mentioned his new relationships or how he was confessed to by some heiress. The last I heard, he was getting hitched. That night, Mia drank herself into a stupor with friends and knocked on my door afterward. My parents weren't home, and she stormed in with sarcasm. "Ben, you must be thrilled, right? He's getting married. Happy now?" I stood silently by the sofa, listening to her vent, then offered a glass of water. She didn't take it. Honestly, I was exhausted watching her emotions switch from volatile to sleepy. I casually threw a blanket over her and went back to my room. Later, I got some juicy gossip through Jake's tangled network on Twitter. Apparently, the girl Alex was marrying was someone he met at a friend's birthday party, a wealthy heiress who fell for him at first sight. During the chase, Alex had a girlfriend, but it took considerable wooing and gifts from the heiress to win him over. I looked down in silence, suddenly curious about what would have happened if Mia really gave up her future for Alex. I never thought I'd find out the path of a different choice, but here I was, back to the past, starting over. Mia was finally getting what she wanted. Watching them kiss in the center of the crowd with everyone cheering, I finished my juice and then turned to leave. I had imagined this choice many times. Mia always dreamed that even if she and Alex went to the same school, she could reach the same level based on her ability. But honestly, who knows the answer? Mia, I'm eager to see what happens. This time around, nothing changed except for Mia's choice. I still got into the same college with the same score as my past life and was accepted into the math department I aimed for. During the whole vacation before we headed off to college, Mia and I didn't see each other. She was off with Alex on a graduation trip. Meanwhile, I took up a tutoring job for middle schoolers. Occasionally, I'd run into Mia's parents while stepping out. They would greet me with a bittersweet smile, silver strands peppering their hair. I guess they'll never know why Mia, who was always in the top 3 and so talented, suddenly flopped in the college entrance exam. They'd probably worry she was too upset, trying everything to comfort her, smiling in front of her, and encouraging her to travel and chill. I couldn't tell if it was better for them to know the truth or stay in the dark. My heart went out to them because, aside from my own parents, they were the adults I grew up with the most. For a long time, because of my parents' work, I had lunch at Mia's place. Her mom always made my favorite sweet and sour ribs and knew all my preferences. She'd remind Mia at school to look out for me so I wouldn't get bullied by other kids. Back then, Mia would hold a watermelon slice and assure her mom, "Don't worry, he won't get bullied." Even though I was a quiet, steady guy with good grades, and I got along with my classmates, Mia often got left out because she was different from other girls. But she didn't mind since we were together. I always thought we'd walk this path side by side. Didn't expect her to turn away halfway. The next time I saw Mia was at the train station heading off to college. In the past, we were in the same city. Now I was heading north while she and Alex went south. In the bustling waiting area, she sat with Alex. As I walked past, I saw them watching a video of a relationship coach analyzing 10 signs a girlfriend loves her boyfriend. She nodded in agreement to Alex's comments. After 2 months away, her pale skin had tanned and she had Alex's initials tattooed on her arm, matching outfits with him. Slowly, she was drifting away from the Mia I remembered. She noticed me looking, glanced up, and across a row of seats, our eyes met openly. I gave her a small smile as a greeting. She stared for a second, reflexively moving her tattooed arm back, and when Alex turned to ask something, she quickly looked away, possibly saying, "Nothing." Just then, my train arrived. As I boarded and moved through the queue, I felt a strong gaze on my back. I knew who it was, but I didn't look back. Later, after finding my seat, I got a message from Mia. Seeing our last conversation from months ago made me pause. This would probably be the new pattern until one ordinary day our words would be the last we ever exchanged. Reflecting, I read her new message. A short line. Ben, I wish you a bright future too. Of course, my future would be bright. I'd step onto a new platform, see a bigger world, surrounded by top talents from across the country, entering a world different from before. There'd be countless others who were hardworking and gifted, humble yet strong. Once I broke free from one school's narrow view, I realized Alex wasn't that extraordinary. It was just a filter that people chasing dreams used to mask their own shine. Now, stripped of the same old facade, stepping into their fields, everyone was a gem. After that, I got busy with my major classes, discussing topics with teachers and classmates, joining various competitions. I even got into volunteering, learned to paint, and drew portraits of every cat and dog on campus, naming them all. Every holiday when I went home, our schedules seemed to magically miss each other. I always headed back to the old place for Chinese New Year, so during the entire 4 years, we didn't meet once. We met again at a class reunion 4 years later. Years can change a lot. The once young and naive teens were now mature and steady, discussing future plans, sharing competition stories, and talking about job offers. They were all decked out with prestigious school credentials, holding numerous awards, not yet in the workforce, but with a bright future ahead. Because of traffic, I was the last to arrive. They pulled me excitedly into the group, and given our similar experiences, I quickly blended into the conversation. While discussing the past 4 years of life, someone playfully pointed at me, pretending to be upset. You all don't know, back in sophomore year, we had a joint debate with several universities, and Ben here was my opponent. He thrashed us with his flawless logic. Couldn't feel any camaraderie. I laughed. Thanks, thanks. She wouldn't let go. Teasing. Who knew? Ben? Back then you were always so quiet and gentle, but in debates you're sharp and relentless. I'm curious. Do you argue with your girlfriend like that? The comments stirred laughter, and then someone suddenly turned to Mia like they just remembered something and asked, Hey, why haven't we seen Alex with you? Our pure love champion, the campus heartthrob, didn't come with you. It was only then that I noticed Mia, who had been sitting in the corner quietly. Like everyone else, she had changed a lot. That humility and confidence in her eyes were gone. Honestly, even though she still seemed quiet and introverted sitting there now, she felt out of place, like an overlooked outsider. The girls who once admired her as the pure love champion had moved on to better opportunities and broader perspectives. Bringing up this topic again felt different, like there was now an undertone of mockery in their words. After all, she used to be a top player among them, and now it seemed she didn't even have anything to discuss with them. Jake, holding his drink, sighed lightly behind me. Turns out reality is what it is, not like those TV dramas. For years after, a frame could mean ultimate success for the heroine in a drama. But in reality, Mia hasn't gotten prettier or more successful, and she's fallen behind everyone here. Success can't just come from hard work. Things like platform, resources, connections, talent, luck, and the right environment are all crucial. So it's no surprise that Mia, who was renowned in the physics community in the past life, is almost unrecognized now. When Mia was suddenly questioned, she looked over at me after a few seconds and said in a calm tone, We broke up. A few days after the party, my buddy Jake came to spill the tea on Mia and Alex. Apparently, shortly after starting college, under Alex's influence, Mia not only learned to cook and do crafts, but she even got into fights with other girls for Alex. I remembered seeing Mia, who rarely tweeted about anything other than physics, suddenly posting Alex's photos or videos every couple of days during that time. I thought back then true love can really change someone. But once the honeymoon phase ended, things got plain. Mia got busy with her courses, and Alex met more people at different events. They occasionally clashed over differences of opinion. Alex complained that Mia had no time for him due to her competitions, wanting her to hang out with him despite her busy schedule. Mia didn't get the whole fuss about the first cup of tea in autumn Alex wanted so badly. She didn't understand why that particular cup, which could be bought any day, needed a special ritual. Minor disagreements piled up over time and eventually led to a Cold War. Jake got more worked up as he talked. His tone was tinged with sarcasm and resentment. How much of their so-called true love was really about love? When the novelty wears off, conflicts only grow, and meeting more exceptional people doesn't help. Their relationship was built on one-sided sacrifices, just waiting for a trigger to explode. So when a rich and attractive heir pursued Alex, he grew even more dissatisfied with Mia. Alex initially loved Mia's achievements, but in a bigger world, being top in class isn't the only measure of worth. Frustrated with their fading relationship and Alex's subtle dissatisfaction, Mia finally brought up the fact that she gave up complex subjects in exams for him. Alex only scoffed. For me? Mia, that was your choice, wasn't it? Don't blame me for the consequences of your decision. That was it, and they broke up. Alex quickly moved on to the rich heiress, closing the chapter on their legendary romance. I lazily flipped through a magazine, responding casually to Jake's passionate rant. Oh, really? He paused a few moments, then sighed. Honestly, as someone who's been her friend for 6 years, I'm disappointed. Even if she had waited to see her scores before making college decisions, why leave no way out? I wonder if she regrets her choices now that the love she once sacrificed for lasted only 4 years. I smiled, calm and collected. It's her choice. Whether she regrets it or not, no one else will bear the consequences now. But back in our past life, living with her constant resentment and disdain, I truly regretted it. Back then, living in her constant resentment and disdain, I truly regretted it. Back then, living in the same city for work and studies, our paths often crossed in academic circles. At home, we maintained a polite front for our parents, keeping up appearances, but each encounter meant facing her sneers. I think her hatred peaked when she found out about my crush. I'd always kept diaries and spent so much time together I wrote about her a lot. Little things like us hiking and her carrying me home after I twisted my ankle, or her standing in punishment beside me when I overslept. She'd lend me materials I forgot, and we'd hit the library together, compete on behalf of our school, console each other when our ranks slipped, or argue over solving problems. Everything between us was ordinary. I never had any dramatic moments to stir large emotions, so I didn't realize when I started liking her. It wasn't until that day when she pointed to the photo on the bulletin board and asked if I was confident that I realized there were hints of liking her scattered throughout my diary. I admired her determination to chase her dreams, her glowing eyes when facing challenges, and the way she looked at me when I was discouraged and asked, "So are you stopping here?" Then that night, for the first time, I wrote in my diary, "I like Mia. Yes, I like Mia." But then Alex came along and got closer to Mia. We didn't talk much, except through our mutual connection with Mia. So I mentioned it once in my diary. Mia likes Alex. Later, things got tense between me and Mia because of the letter. Every argument chipped away at my feelings for her, much like how a crush can appear out of nowhere. I thought my secret crush would never be known, but I didn't expect her to see my diary when she came over to help my dad set up a new bookshelf. To this day, I clearly remember her holding up the diary, giving me a sarcastic look. She asked in a chilly tone, "You like me?" I looked at the diary in her hand, paused, then admitted calmly, "Yes, I did." Maybe my calmness annoyed her because she suddenly threw the diary at me and yelled accusingly, "So you took the love letter?" The hardcover grazing my cheek hurt a bit, but in that moment I realized I didn't like her anymore. I wasn't sad about her carelessly tossing aside memories of my crush. I picked up the diary and dusted it off, seriously apologizing. "I'm sorry, Mia. I shouldn't have taken the love letter, shouldn't have disrupted your relationship, and shouldn't have liked you without asking." But she wasn't satisfied, scoffing before walking away, leaving behind words that stuck with me. Jealous, manipulative. Honestly, while I did like her, I valued our friendship more than a fleeting crush. Taking the letter wasn't to stop her and Alex. I just hoped she could achieve what matched her 12 years of effort without interference. So I delayed her choice for a few days. I was never jealous of Alex. I knew you can't force feelings, so if she ended up with Alex, I'd offer my congratulations and continue on my own path. I didn't need to be with Mia. Now it's like I've corrected past mistakes and am on the path I was meant to take. Even though I didn't take the letter this time, I didn't intentionally distance myself from this life's Mia, at least not until after the uni entrance exams. Then we ended up in different circles for 4 years, so when we met at a gathering, we didn't talk. This kind of drifting apart didn't bother me, so I didn't reach out to the east until her mom was hospitalized and my mom brought me to visit. After leaving some fruit, I sat in the sterilized-smelling hospital room listening to my mom chat with Mia's mom about life. I went outside for a call and met Mia by the flower beds. She wore a black coat, exhaustion etched into her features. I paused for a moment, recognizing that familiar look. She showed it when research wasn't going well or she couldn't mend things with Alex. Back then, she was successful, but worked hard behind the scenes. The academic journey was tough and solitary. As for Alex, Mia reached out to him after some success, and they reconnected. But most of her connections were in the city where she studied, and with much of her time in the lab, she had less advantage compared to wealthy, leisurely peers also pursuing Alex. After half a year of trying, Alex still turned her down, quietly exiting her life. Their story hung like the unattainable moon. My mistake in taking the letter haunted me because she believed if they'd been in the same school, things would have ended differently. Now, looking at her, I didn't know why she had that look again. When our eyes met, she shut off her phone, stood up, and walked over with a dry voice. Last time we met, I didn't get to say hi. Ben, you've changed a lot. You're more handsome and accomplished. She paused, looked a bit guilty, and apologized. I was immature back then, worried he'd misunderstand, afraid our relationship would be affected, so I downplayed it. That was childish of me. I waited quietly for her to finish and then smiled, replying graciously, "It's okay, Mia. We were always just friends. What else could we have been?" Her face tensed and then fell, and she looked at the fading sunset, laughing self-deprecatingly. I've thought countless times about what it'd be like if I'd never seen that letter. I followed her lead, speaking lightly. You couldn't miss it. That letter. I followed her lead, speaking lightly. You couldn't miss it. It was placed right there. She suddenly turned her head. What if someone took it? I paused, unable to respond before she asked, Ben, if you'd seen it first, would you have taken it? I looked closely at her, searching for something, but saw nothing. Calmly, I shook my head. No, I wouldn't have taken it. We both turned away, falling into silence. She suddenly smiled, seeming relieved, and said repeatedly, That's good, that's good. She started talking about how she keeps having the same dream after we broke up. It's about me taking her love letter before the uni entrance exam. In the dream, she never got together with him and hated me for it her whole life. Eventually, we both died in a car crash caused by me. The blood felt so real, like it truly happened. I uttered something and was about to head back to the hospital room. I softly said to her, It's all fake, don't worry about it. But deep down, I knew it was real. The crash happened on Alex's wedding day. Before that, we were invited to our old high school for a reunion. Our former class teacher wanted us to film a video for the younger students with Always on the Road as the theme. So, I got in Mia's car to check out the filming location. I was following our pre-planned script, sitting in the front seat. I was adjusting the equipment and chatting with Mia about the camera angles. It was our first peaceful moment since the uni entrance exam. The shoot went well. On the way back, I quietly rested against the window, just watching the scenery pass by. Suddenly, I heard Mia's phone ring. She instinctively answered it on speaker. Then Alex's voice came through. Mia, today's my wedding. I forgot to send you an invite. We've known each other for so long. We're friends. I'll text you the details. The call ended and the car became silent. I was considering asking to get out and grab a ride back myself, but she suddenly turned the car around. I knew she was going, but then, bam, we got hit by a truck. That feeling of internal chaos really hurt, but after the numbness, I only felt relieved. Before I lost consciousness, I heard Mia weakly call my name and say that if she could do it over again, she'd want me not to ruin her and Alex's relationship. When I opened my eyes again, I was back to the start of my freshman year of high school. I didn't know what Mia's "that's good" or the recurring dream meant, but it didn't matter anymore. The second time I saw Mia was when her mom got out of the hospital. I brought soup from my mom and chatted a bit. We reminisced about the old days. She pulled out some old paper photos and picked one from when Mia and I won a prize in a junior high competition. She said, "Time flies. I remember when your mom was in the hospital ready to give birth. You were born just a day before Mia. And now look, over 20 years have gone by. Ben, you were as handsome as a kid. And Mia's dad really liked you back then. You were so quiet, just smiling all the time while he held you. As you grew, you and Mia were inseparable. We all thought someday you'd end up together." I politely smiled and said, "Auntie, those were childhood days, not to be taken seriously." She patted my hand and sighed. "Mia isn't lucky enough to be with you now. She's no match for you." I chuckled softly, wanting to tell her she had it wrong. "Auntie, it's not about who matches with who. It's about walking the same path." She misunderstood and said, "Mia told me she's studying for the grad school entrance exams. It's the same school she aimed for right in your college town. Take care of her, will you?" I kindly interrupted her. "Auntie, I'm heading abroad for studies. Oh, and I have a girlfriend now. I haven't had the chance to tell my folks." Mia walked into the kitchen to wash her hands. I wasn't sure if she overheard. She stood there with her back to me, still for a long time. The air was tense for a few seconds. Mia's mom tried to lighten the mood by asking about my girlfriend. I smiled and talked about how we met. "A girl I competed with. She's gentle, smart, disciplined, wins awards every year, excels in all competitions. She does calligraphy, plays chess, even drums." I pulled out my phone and showed a picture of her giving a speech at an academic forum. I told her, "She's someone I really like and my fellow pathwalker." That pretty much ended the conversation. On my way home, I thought about Mia standing at the sink, her sleeves rolled up. I noticed faint scars on her forearms, where a tattoo was removed. For a moment, it felt like time intermingled. Those old scribbled names on scrap paper marked the beginning for them. Now, the faded scar was a sign of their end. The hormones that sparked during that youth finally receded like the tide. My tangled past with Mia was wrapping up here. I did wonder what kind of fate awaited her once she chose another path. I was curious to see how she'd reach her former glory amid today's fierce competition, and how her family, after investing so much in her dream, would continue to support her. Truth is, I hoped she'd struggle just to prove my past actions were right, but I knew I was wrong. Someone once said, "The best etiquette is to mind your own business. Stepping in means you have to bear responsibility." So this time, I stayed in my lane. I didn't meddle in any of Mia's choices. In the past, she regretted not being with Alex. I didn't know if she'd regret the 21 exam questions she left unanswered this time. But the marvel of fate is there's never a perfect choice. No matter what, there will be regrets. What matters is handling the consequences. At this point, I lost all interest in Mia's future. Life is long after all. Whether she bounces back to the top or fades into the crowd, it's irrelevant to me now. I stopped looking back and kept moving forward. I was studying abroad for 3 years. My girlfriend and I were doing long distance. Jake called me once and jokingly asked, "Ben, you've been away for 3 years. Aren't you worried the spark with your girlfriend will go out?" I was writing my report, calmly replying, "Even though we're not in the same place, we're headed toward the same goal, and our souls will only get closer." He made a suggestive noise, then switched topics like something popped into his head. "Remember Alex? He was chased with loads of money by the daughter of a nouveau riche who fell in love at first sight. Their wedding was grand, inviting tons of former classmates with everyone watching in envy. But not even 2 years later, she started looking for someone new, younger, and more handsome. So she kept spending money to pursue him. Alex made a fuss after being cheated on, but it only led to talks of divorce. He didn't agree, and now they're still stuck in this divorce mess. I was half listening when I suddenly realized Alex's face was fading from my memory. I only remembered he was good looking, but nothing else stood out. Even when he was with Mia, nothing seemed special to me. I never saw him as a rival. We were always from two different worlds. Jake noticed I was losing interest, so he switched the topic again. Mia tried for grad school twice and missed by just zero point 0.1 points each time. Really bad luck. After finishing the report, I took a deep breath and casually replied, "Oh, wish her luck." Not long after, one day, a message popped up and got retracted. It was from Mia, but I didn't ask about it. When I got back to the country, some old friends threw me a welcome back party, and Mia was there. She asked if I saw that message. I shook my head and said I was sleeping because it was the middle of the night. She gave a bitter smile and explained, "It was a dream, but I mistook it for reality. Glad I didn't disturb you." Keeping a friendly smile, I realized she told a pretty awkward lie. Her middle of the night was daytime for me, but it didn't matter anymore, just like the withdrawn message. Then did you like me? That answer didn't matter anymore. What matters now is that I'm on my own path, moving forward, and my love is waiting ahead. Watching her look at me deeply before turning around, her figure thin and solitary. My girlfriend came over with a little cake and softly asked who that was. Pulling my attention back, I took her hand, smiled unconcernedly. Just an ordinary friend I've known since childhood.